Hi, I'm Kylie Pagent, and I am a wellbeing and leadership mentor. And I'm so excited to be here on the Prosper Show. I will be talking to you about the word and how you can bring that into your life and embrace your life with the word and.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, where we explore stories of resilience, transformation, and purpose with leaders who inspire us to dream bigger and do better. Today, we're joined by the extraordinary Kylie Pagent. Now, Kylie, how are you doing today?
I'm really well, Prosper. I feel so honored to be on the show with you. Thank you for having me.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. Given what we're going to be talking about, I think we're going to be giving a lot of people permission to lead themselves today, isn't it?
That's the plan.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are tuning in for the very first time, I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and the woman we have in front of us today, Kylie Pagent, is a woman who traded a high-octane corporate world for a life of balance, healing, and empowerment. Now, Kylie is not just a coach or a mentor. She's a guide who actually helps others shed the emotional and mental weight that holds them back. More like Michelangelo when he mentioned that get rid of all the unnecessary marbles so you can let the angel fly. And that's exactly what I think we're going to be doing today in this here episode. Right. So I want you to think of her as a modern day alchemist, turning limiting beliefs into the gold standard of self-worth. And, people like her just don't show up on the scene. I mean, her journey is one of paradoxes, from co-founding a $2.3 billion company to becoming a death doula. From boardrooms to barefoot walks on the beach, she's done it all. And today we're going to be exploring what it actually means to embrace the end in life. All right, why not both? And there's something here that I just discovered as well about Kylie before we actually jump in. All right, she wants you to be both ambitious and soulful, and also be structured and intuitive all at the very same time. It seems like something that is very impossible, but I think Kylie is going to be showing us and leading us the way. Now, I think today we're going to be uncovering how Kylie's experiences have actually shaped her unique coaching methods, the invisible lessons that she's learned, and why you should actually consider unlocking your own potential through her guidance. And by the end of this episode, you're only going to be seeing possibilities and also the reflections of how Kylie has come to be with the methodologies that she is using. So stay with us so you can hear the insights and also the laughter, because we've been laughing behind the scenes already. I wish I was pressing record by then. We've just missed out on some quality content on there. And maybe there could be tears here and there, because this is a journey to self-leadership. Now, Kylie, you could actually stop me, because this is your show, right? So, because I could go on and talk about things I'm not even qualified about. But your career sort of began in the corporate world with incredible success. Tell us, what was life like then, and what was going on in your life then?
Prosper, thank you for that introduction. That was, amazing. Thank you. Look, I've had, quite an interesting career. I started straight out of school into hospitality and hotel management, and from there, and doing lots of traveling, where I learnt so much about myself and other cultures and ways of life. I ended up back in Sydney in the corporate world, and surprisingly for me, in automotive, which was not somewhere I thought I would end up, to be honest. But after 25 years in the automotive industry, where I met my my amazing husband, we have had 3 children, and we grew a family business from one dealership up until it was nearly 40 dealerships before I left, and we then took it to IPO in 2016, and that's when my body was telling me that I had to pivot and step away. It was literally screaming at me. I had ended up with a skin issue. I had a thyroid issue called Hashimoto's. I had 3 children. I was traveling domestically, and I realized that I had really spread myself too thin. And whilst I was wearing all these different hats in life, I was a mum, I was a wife, I was a marketing executive, I wasn't doing anything well. And that was a monumentous time for me, because my husband and I had met in the automotive industry. And I realized if I didn't look after myself, that I wasn't going to be the person I wanted to be for my children, my husband, or my career, because I had really spread myself way too thin. And as I said to you before, my body was literally screaming for change.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. Well,
And that's the pivot point for me.
absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us on that journey. Now, this traveling, was it backpacking around the world, or were you actually going first class into five-star hotels and
No, so when I was in my mid-20s, it was all backpacking. It was, I took myself at the age of 21 backpacking around Europe, Asia, into Africa. And it was a real time of exploration for myself. As I said, discovering who I was as a person. I think sometimes when you come out of, the little bubble of school and home life, etc., where it is like a container, to come out of that and to go traveling and discover who I was and who I wanted to be, and also discover the beautiful different cultures. And I really did take things for granted. I realized back home it was great to come home. But yeah, I learned probably more traveling the world, Prosper, than I did in the classroom.
And I think, well, if you've got the world as your classroom or your university, I think you'd learn more about life and who we are in comparison to everything else. One thing that really fascinates me about travel, Kylie, is you go to a country or a place where whole human beings are already working and surviving without your input. If that doesn't make you think, wow, how small you are in the grand scheme of things, and nothing else will. But you went to Africa. You caught my attention there. I mean, everything else, you could do. But where did you go in Africa?
We went through South Africa, and then mainly around the northern part of Africa. My husband is quite the history buff. So we do lots of, actually, a lot of our travel has been, doing lots of crumbly bits, as we call it. Yeah.
Absolutely, I like that, because there's 2 types of travelers, all right? There's the animal enthusiast, who is all about the animals within the area, or the anthropological traveler, who is interested in human beings, culture, and things of that nature. Now, you also mentioned something.
I love both. I love both. I think you can learn a lot from both, and history.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you did mention you taking things for granted. What were some of the highlights that put that into perspective?
Look, I think for me, there were numerous things. I think in Australia, we're very fortunate to have really a great level of lifestyle. I think our medical system we take for granted. And look, I'll share a story. My eldest son ended up being born in the UK, and I didn't have private health cover or anything like that. And that was a real wake-up call for me. Where, I thought England would have, amazing medical facilities like my friends had back in Australia when they'd had their first child. And I realised not just in England, but even around the world, the level of medical support and lifestyle we have here in Australia, we do take for granted.
Absolutely. It only takes somebody to just venture out, even in some places, even if you go to America right now, unless you've broken your leg or something, you're going to have to wait in line with everybody else who's,
Yeah.
been in the medical system, just so you can get looked at. So, yeah, kudos to Australia. It is the lucky country after all. So, I mean, obviously, you took us on a journey. The only part that I heard you went to was Africa, which was good. Otherwise, we could have just ended the podcast by then. But you went on, you came back, and then you started working, growing this business and things of that nature. Just as you were becoming a mom and things of that nature, if you could just give us a sweep through what your average day would look like, because did you say it was 40 dealerships that you had to look after?
Yeah, well, it was towards the end when I left. I mean, it's grown even further since we took it we took it public. But yeah, and I think that piece around shedding myself a bit thin, I had so many different hats. My morning literally was waking up first thing, and it did feel a little bit like Groundhog Day, to be honest. Get everyone out the door for school, get myself out the door for school, and get myself into the office, have back-to-back meetings, put out fires where I needed to. I didn't even have any space in there to go and have lunch because I knew I had to pick up the children. I literally did back-to-back, crammed everything into, 9 to 3, pick up children, get them to all their after-school activities, swimming, football, whatever that was, get a meal on the table, get their homework done, get on their emails, etc., tidy up my work day in the evening, and then literally crash into bed and do it all again the next day.
Wow. See, because I see the automotive industry, there's a new version of a car coming in every single year. By the time you've done the marketing for it, now you have to start all over again. Maybe there's a recall that needs to happen, servicing, all of that stuff. And I can only imagine how that would have taken a toll, especially on somebody's plus kids, plus family, plus.
Yeah. Well, dealerships are open, it's retail, right? So it's open 7 days a week. So you're on 7 days a week. You've got managers contacting you. I mean, I love the industry, Prosper. Don't get me wrong. I'm still involved with it. And I was very fortunate to look after some extraordinary prestige and luxury brands that taught me so much about, leadership and marketing and events. And I still love that. And I think the thing for me, I'm still supporting my husband who's still in the industry. I think for me, what I realized is that I love that I can still have that part of it, but I can also have balance in my life and be able to have my leadership mentoring business and be able to walk barefoot on the beach when I want to.
I like that. I like that. Now, while I was looking you up, there's a statement that caught my attention, which says you felt like you've been carrying emotional rocks in a backpack. I mean, that's a very heavy backpack. I don't know if you would have been flying, if you fly with Jetstar, if you go any heavier than the allocated 21 kilos, they'll probably charge you 3 seats and whatever it is that they add extras to that luggage. What were some of those rocks that you had to remove in your own life? I know most of this was just happening fast because, like you said, you're in retail, everything is happening 7 days a week and things of that nature. And are you also helping other people identify theirs?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great question, Prosper. So for me, I use this analogy as the rocks in the backpack, because I feel like through our childhood, from our parents, from society, we gather these rocks in our backpack along the way, and they can drag us down, right? And I think that's how we end up with things like burnout. For me, it was burnout, thyroid issue, a skin issue. But for others, it's almost like a barrier that they can't move forward in their life. And it might be that it's showing up as imposter syndrome. You know, they're sitting around a boardroom table and thinking, why should I be sitting here? You know, burnout, all those sort of things. For me, some of the rocks in my backpack was grief. You know, I hadn't been able to process grief that had been in my childhood and later in life. There was also things from my own childhood, and I don't know about your listeners, but I was told when I was growing up that you were to listen and you weren't to speak. You were in the classroom and you just listened. You weren't encouraged to speak up. You weren't encouraged, like, you know, the kids of today are, to use their voice. So for me, it was actually reactivating my voice and removing that hindrance for me of, you know, having permission to speak in the first place. So yeah, there's just some of the examples, but I work with my clients to pinpoint the emotional blockages and those limiting beliefs that have been set there from either, as I said, childhood, society, along their life, to help them release that and be able to have the freedom to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think there's a statement that says children are meant to be seen and not heard. And I think they took that to the literal sense so much that everybody just went along with societal expectations and did not even, you know, have a voice and things like that. But there's a time where you actually listen to your own inner voice. Now, my question to you is, you had a busy, hectic life. First of all, how were you able to tune in to that particular voice? And also, is that voice available to everyone? Or is it just a Kylie, edition?
Yeah, great question. I love that. So look, when my body was literally falling apart, I had a great mentor that I found, thankfully, and she enabled me to come back to my body and prosper. I feel like I, like everyone, is born with this, but I do think it gets blocked out along the way, again, by society expectations, school, etc. And there's nothing against all those things, but I think we lose our inner voice and we listen to all the external voices instead. So for me, I refound my voice with to the thanks of this amazing mentor that I have and I still see. And she taught me to find space in my life so that I come back to myself, so that I can hear what my body needs. I mean, my body was literally trying to tell me. It was, as I said earlier, screaming at me for my attention, to listen to me. Until I ended up with burnout. But Prosper, I think everyone has innately got this intuition, this insight inside them. I think it's allowing and creating the space in your life to be able to tap in and listen to it.
I mean, for somebody who worked in a dealership, maybe it was that new car smell that you guys spray in the cars that was just but you probably got it got too hazy. You forgot to check to look at the check engine light. Have you ever seen
Exactly.
that check engine light that actually?
Exactly. Yeah, it flashes on the screen. It was warning me. It was warning me. My whole body was warning me. It was literally coming out in my skin. Slow
Mm,
down, stop. We've got to reset here. So, yeah, but it was like the flashing light on the dashboard. You're exactly right.
absolutely. See, you're still involved in the automotive industry. Can you put a petition to say instead of check engine lights, then you should just have that light rating? This stuff is going to cost you,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Check in with you. Yeah, exactly.
fantastic. So you met this mentor, and she literally sort of worked with you, and run about that time you transitioned from a $2.3 billion business where you were sipping crystal and flying domestic to now playing with crystals and energy work into well-being. How was that transition for you? Was that not a whoa, where am I, or were you ready and prepared for that by that time?
I'm not sure I was quite ready, but the transition was a little scary, can I just say? My husband and I had met in the automotive industry. All our conversations had been around, our passion for the industry. We would, workshop things. So for me to step away from that, yeah, I was quite concerned about what we talk about. But in saying that, again, that's where that word "and" came in for me. I'm still able to do that, and he, brainstorms ideas with me all the time, and I've been able to gently move into this area where I'm able to still help others and be there for my family and be able to help my clients and those around me by teaching them how to come back to themselves and be able to have all the things they want in their life with balance.
I'm now starting to notice something here. Embracing the end is society tells you this is who you're supposed to be, and that's it. Whereas you're saying you could be, and you could also be, and more. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
describe
exactly.
your philosophy around that. What does it mean, and how does it actually guide the way you now live and coach people?
Yeah. So I think, and your viewers might understand this, I know when people say to you, what do you do? And you might say, oh, I'm an accountant, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a pharmacist. The piece that's missing is that there's so much more to someone's life. So the accountant, for example, might also be a cyclist, or the lawyer might also be an artist, but they don't share that information. But that's their passion, right? Their passion might be to, spend nights painting or being a fitness coach or whatever it is for them. And what I'm sharing with people is that they can do both. I had a wonderful client that I've worked with recently, and she's got two children. She is a single mum, and she realized that she wanted to step away from the corporate world. So she spent a year doing her passion of coaching people. And after the 12 months, she realized that she missed working with people in the sense of being in an office environment. And she was also missing the income that brought for her family. So after working together for a few months with this client, what we realized is she could have both.
Mm.
And what happened, Prosper, within a few weeks, without her even really approaching anyone, an offer came in from the same industry that she worked in to come back into the corporate world.
Wow.
And she was nervous, right? She was like, oh, I'm going to get back on, I'm not going to see my children again. I'm going to be working full time, but I really want to have this income coming in. I really enjoying having the clients I have. But what we did is we worked around some of the fears that she had and brought in that word and. And what she was able to do was to actually go back to the employer and say, look, this is what I'd like. I'd like to be able to work 3-4 days a week. This is the package I'd like. I'm also running my own business doing this coaching, and I have 2 small children. The employer came back to her and said, let's make that happen. I really want you. I like your priorities. So she's now able to have her cake and eat it too, if you like, but she's able to do all of it. She's there for her kids. She's there doing her passion of, coaching other people to become the best version of themselves. And she's got a steady income that's coming in an industry that she loves. And she's also able to mix with people and have that mental stimulation at the same time.
That's interesting. We actually paint ourselves into a corner, so to speak,
Right?
with that one profession that's on our CV. And that's what we think, that's who we are supposed to be. Is that the reason why a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves when they hit the middle age, when because all they've ever known is their work or whatever it is that they're celebrated for whenever they show up at their workplace?
Exactly. Some people feel like, they get to, middle age, which I am now, and they feel like they've got to, like their parents did, retire, or they keep working in this, groundhog, sort of business that they've been doing. And there's that fear of stepping away, but actually it's a great opportunity to recreate their life. Let's start a new chapter. Let's have, this new chapter where we can do this and this.
Now, Kylie, I blame the automotive industry for that. You know why? Because when the production line was invented or made popular by Henry Ford, people became specialists in a particular, part of the car production. So if somebody was the specialist for the right hand door, they were specialized for that. It increased production, it increased efficiency, and that now became that specialist part. But I think we've sold for that because robots can now do that, and it's literally taking away the need for that specialist type endeavor. Do you know what I mean? So what do you say now to people that are still holding on to a world that no longer exists?
Yeah, I think it's time to flip that mindset. I really do. I really think it's time to flip that mindset. And, let's not feel like we've got to, be in one lane. Let's have the and. Let's be able to, for me, Prosper, I love nothing more than getting dressed up, going on the red carpet with my husband to these amazing charity functions with the automotive industry or whatever the event is. But I also love the other lane of walking barefoot on the beach and, doing meditation and all that sort of thing. Why can't I have both?
You see, that's where a lot of people might not, try and connect the two because I don't know, maybe these days it's now being sort of readily accepted. I think post-pandemic, people are now open to alternative, ways of being and wellness and things like that. But you've been working with leaders across industries. Don't they just think what you're doing is kumbaya and woohoo, which basically does not correlate and correspond to the sales of an Isuzu decap or things of that nature?
Yeah. Look, the clients I've been attracting, and there was a gentleman in London that works for a big international firm over there. When he contacted me, I was a little bit nervous. I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to be the right fit for this gentleman, but he wanted to change and pivot his life. He, middle-aged gentleman, and he was suffering from what I'd call imposter syndrome. Yeah. And he also had a blockage for taking that next step in his career. He had 2 kids at, a private school that he needed to get through, but he really felt that he was blocked in moving his career forward. And he also had fear of changing careers because that was the lane that he'd been in for such a long time. So, yes, whilst people might think what I do is a little woo-woo, I have a suite of leadership skills from the 25 years I've been in corporate. So I love to be able to mix that traditional aspect with that Eastern philosophy of moving those emotional blockages so that people can move forward and move in whatever direction they want, be able to pivot their life, start a new chapter so that they can make the best out of their whole life. So not just professionally, but I also work in that personal space as well. Yeah. So I really am passionate that when things aren't going well at home, you can't be the best person at work either, and vice versa, right? If things aren't going well at work, you can't show up as the best person at home either. Yeah. So it's about the whole person. And again, that's why I think I'm attracting the clients I do, because I do look after the whole person so that they can embody the change, the pivot, whatever they need in their life, removing those rocks out of their backpack so that they can enjoy their whole life.
Quite like that. I'm just looking at a car in and of itself. There's an indicator switch, that tells people you're gonna merge, you're gonna pivot, you're gonna abandon the route you are on, and then going into the next lane which is favorable for you. Maybe it's a slower lane, or it's an actual third lane where elderly people usually drive in, or things of that nature. But I quite like that. And the way you've been doing it, like you say, you've got that 25 years that you've also been learning with leaders and understanding them, so you clearly understand them, so you're literally feeding them back stuff that you already sort of know that has worked for you and has brought you the success, instead of other people that are just coming in from having learned about being a coach over a weekend and walking over some burnt coals, and then coming to talk to leaders and say, hey, you guys, here's some sage.
Yeah. Look, I don't believe in a cookie cutter leadership approach. I really work with my clients to understand where the crux of the issue is, and I make a bespoke program and work with them so that they get the best out of what they need, rather than, I guess, doing, Prosper, what you mentioned before of being seen and not heard. I want to work with my clients to make sure that they are heard and be able to build a program and work with them to get the best out of it. I'm not just going to dictate to them.
Absolutely. So if you're going to be helping them remove those rocks in their backpack, what sort of programs are you taking them through, or have you got workshops that people can subscribe to?
Yeah, so I do workshops. I also do a lot of one-on-one coaching. The program I've built is a 12-week program that takes them through, as I said, I build the program for them around some core pillars, if you like. And but I really spend the first few weeks actually really understanding the needs of the clients, what they need to move forward, and what's really blocking them, those limiting beliefs, to move them forward.
Fantastic. So it's really tailored to them, their life, who they are currently, and who they wanna or ought to be, because you want them to embrace that end. You know,
Exactly. I want them to have a whole life, whole
mm,
life. Yeah,
now,
professionally and personally.
now, Kylie, I mean, indulge me here for a little bit. From what I'm hearing, this 12-week program kind of sounds like a pattern break. You know, these people are like you were, waking up in the morning, Groundhog Day, doing the same thing, ticking whatever boxes, doing whatever needed to be done in order to appear functional. Yet there was something that wasn't fulfilling, you know, after all this. And what you're taking them through is akin to a rite of passage where you're literally telling them to stop, look, and listen, and then empowering them with everything else that they already have, but actually getting them to embrace it, because fish don't see the water that they swim in. I don't know if this is exactly what it is that you.
Exactly right, Prosper. What I try and do is get people off the treadmill and
Mm,
then work out where they want to go. And I hopefully give them different tools to get the rocks out of the backpack and supply them with new tools to move forward in their whole life. So, be that professionally, if that's where the area they want to move into. And look, a lot of people come to me because they want professional leadership. And I give them those tools. But as we go through it, I usually find they need some tools for their personal life as well. So I give them a bespoke toolkit, if you like, that they can move forward in their life.
absolutely. And what would be the best way that people can actually get started on this journey, Kylie?
Contact me social media or via my website, and I love to do a Zoom or a phone call first, because I want to make sure that they feel comfortable with me and vice versa, because this is an important change in their life. And I think it's really important that we find if we're the right fit for each other first. So we do a discovery call, we chat through where they are, where they want to be, and take it from there.
Fantastic. Now, in your days when you were backpacking through Southern Africa and all those other places, did you ever think you would be in this position of literally changing people's lives and, dare I say, their world?
Yeah, no, I didn't, I have to say. I always had a calling to help other people, and it's interesting how life evolves and the different industries I've been into. Because even whilst I was in automotive, it was all about the service side of things and looking after the customers. So I've always been in that customer service, hospitality. So I always knew that I wanted to help other people.
Absolutely. Well, now I can't thank you enough for the time that we've spent on the call today. I mean, obviously, your life story and your experience will make a huge difference, especially to people that are on their journey to be, do, and have a happier existence. And from what you have said, you know, it's not just the professional side, also their personal side, because you can't do well if you don't feel well. And obviously, if you are not confident at home, you never perform at work. Or if you're not confident at work, obviously at home, you bring work back, and then it doesn't create that harmonious feel that people, you know, seek out for. So I can't thank you enough for this. But if somebody is maybe still on the fence thinking, you know, I think there's an Aussie saying that says, sure, be all right. What would you say to them? You know, they still think whatever they're doing is the right way. You know, we're all gonna die anyway. So why?
Yeah, I think, Prosper, for me, I really want to help people find the best version of their life so that they can live their best life for themselves and those around them. Yeah.
Mm,
If that's of
that's
interest, great. And if it's not, that's okay too.
great stuff. So you've introduced us to the 25 years in automotive. Now you're in this phase of helping people. What's next? What can people anticipate, you know, in the future coming up?
I'd love to know the answer to that as well. Look, for me, I am keen um, teach people at the moment or invite them to look into emotional intelligence. That's probably my passion at the moment. Again, I think emotional intelligence was one of those things that I definitely wasn't taught at school, at home. Actually, if anything, emotions just weren't spoken about. So it's one of the things I'm sharing with my family, with my clients, is around emotional intelligence and how that can help you, not just at home, but again, understanding your colleagues at work, understanding your staff, understanding yourself. So that's my passion at the moment, is inviting my clients to learn more about emotional intelligence in the workforce.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't know if you notice this or you understand everything that we possibly need doing. If it's not being done right now by AI, give it a couple of years. But where humans need to be is on the feeling side, the actual human being, the extending a hug, the actual, let's sit down and have a coffee, let's understand this. And I think that is actually the leading edge, not technology, but just EQ. And
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think for me, emotional intelligence, I mean, we all know about it, right? You know, when you walk into a room and you can feel that there's something not quite right. But it's actually really powerful to understand emotional intelligence, to be able to understand when a colleague, or even when you're doing business, you know, with someone, to understand where they're coming from, to understand their triggers, to understand your own triggers is really important. So yes, I think you're exactly right. I don't think AI can teach you this. I think this is something that, again, coming back to yourself and having that awareness of yourself and for others is really important.
absolutely. You can download food, but you can't download a hug. So thank you so much, Kylie, I mean, for joining us on this enlightening conversation. And I think there's a lot that needs to be unpacked, you know, for the viewer who's watching this right now, because I think your story just reminds us that, you know, life's greatest transformations often come from just embracing the paradoxes of life and choosing to grow through any challenges. If this, then that, you know what I mean? And what
Yeah.
next? Now, I think I've learned a new word, not, I mean, the new meaning of and, you know,
Yeah.
what else? Then what else, you know? So, for those that are watching right now, if you've been inspired by Kylie's journey, or if you know somebody who could actually use her wisdom, please share this episode with them, because so many people are trying to have a happier existence, but they don't know they can actually just embrace the and not just leave the CV, you know, part of their lives. They also do have, you know, other lives out there. And I can't thank you, Kylie, enough for sharing with us this and also opening up our eyes to what is actually possible, you know, if you actually just really embrace the holistic person that we actually are. Yes, I know humans are complicated individuals, but if you just really look within, you'll find all the answers, just like Kylie did for herself. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning into the Online Prosperity Show. And obviously, if you're keen to hear more stories that actually inspire and empower you, I encourage you to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show. Until next time, keep embracing your potential and maybe even a little bit of your own. And bye for now.